Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, wishing you well and hoping that you're strapped in because we got a doozy of a set of stories today. What is your best one-hit KO story? Part 1. In my GURPS campaign, it's a homebrew world and story. Our campaign is a homage to classic superhero comics and stories. My character is known as the Peacekeeper. He is an ex-SWAT officer. We are on the second and final campaign where our characters are max level, but we are fighting in an intergalactic war. Peacekeeper was out on some R&R on the planet we were helping repel an invasion. He was looking at a garden when a high-ranking officer of the planet he was helping approaches him drunk as a skunk and tries to fight Peacekeeper. So my character uses his powers and freezes the man from the neck down, stopping him. The man, who turns out to be one of the royalty of the planet, demands that I'm arrested, so I'm arrested and brought before the king. The prince demands to duel my character, so I tell him that he can choose what weapon I use. He chooses my fists, and he uses his royal weapons. We go for a few rounds, I'm dodging everything he's throwing at me, and I decided to freeze his leg to trap him in place. He then uses magic to teleport behind me to attack my blind spot. My character yells at the top of his lungs, "I hate magic!" So I say I power blow. Now, power blow is a skill in GURPS that if you pass the check, you double damage, but if you crit, you triple. And if you crit on a hit, they can't dodge or parry the strike. I crit the power blow and also crit the punch to the snob's face. So that is 4d6 plus 423 because if you hit someone in the head or face, it's double damage. I punched the prince so hard, my GM was scared I killed him because it was close to 200 damage, but because of some racial traits, he only took 75 or so. So the prince goes flying across the throne room and is knocked out cold. DMing the Sundred Skies campaign setting in the Savage World system. After an escape scene, the party made it to an island of Draken, basically kobolds with stronger ties to dragons than D&D. They had the fighter's mentor Prax, an orc gladiator, with them, who was also a bodyguard to a merchant character's family. True to DM form, I had to kill Prax to really drive some motivation towards the next story beat, which was a mysterious series of murders in this town targeting orcs. I was not expecting everyone to get so fired up as Prax was introduced the session before and was sorta a last-minute addition to the fighter's story I worked in with his permission. Now, to the point in this story, the fighter was the only combat person in the party, and he also went down in every single fight. Heart attack in the first terror situation, paralysis against the first ghoul. The merchant did more work than him, and it became a joke. Prax was created to give him a moment to let him have spotlight in a duel and teach him defense. His focus won't win him fights. Cut to the fight against the murderer, some hapless soul possessed to murder orcs and incite war, was using the souls of orcs to protect himself, including poor Prax. In Savage Worlds, normal enemies die with 1 damage and bosses and players take 4, 3 wounds plus 1 to take down. It also uses exploding dice, meaning a 6 on a d6 lets you roll again and add the result and can result in more exploding dice. Fight begins, Prax rolls poorly, which thematically was cool since he didn't want to hurt these people in particular. Fighter gauges the situation and decides gunning for the boss and accepting attacks of opportunity is worth it. Enemies all miss him and he leaps into the air, believing this is his last chance to show his mentor what he's made of. He shouts, "This is for Prax!" and rolls hit with a raise, which means 1 extra d6 damage. Rolls damage, exploding. Ultimate result is 56 damage, something like 7 wounds. Boss attempts to negate damage, fails every possible attempt by a margin that it doesn't matter. That was the turning point for our fighter, who went from the butt of the joke in every fight to a god's damned hero who really engaged with the game after that moment. It's just too bad the game ended a few sessions later due to life. This happened in my first time being a DM. 3.5e. It was just supposed to be a per-campaign starting mission that involved them going through a dungeon, getting some specialized gear for a quest they were going to be set on at the end of the dungeon. It ended up turning months of planning and probably a year or so of future adventures into a one-shot. They went through the dungeon with no problems. It was really a way for me to introduce the big bad level 20 wizard and to give them each a special item to help in their future adventures. When they get down to the lair of the big bad, they see him fighting off with a hero. The hero went down to a knee and the big bad blast a hole in the roof to fly out. I gave each of the players an action to do what they want. I mean, what is a group of level 1 players going to do to a level 20 wizard? I should never ask that question. He flies up and then the wizard says, "I want to use the scroll of Wall of Force I found earlier and block the hole." I think to myself, well, that was going to be helpful to you later, but okay. I tell him go ahead and he casts the spell. I then give my big bad a chance to notice the wall and destroy it before flying off. Or running into it and falling back to the ground? Well, the dice were not with me that day. The wizard hits the wall and starts to fall. He is going to recover and not take any more damage. I just will have him play with the PCs a bit before he flies off. Then I hear the rogue tell the half-orc barbarian, "Throw your long spear at him." I tell him, okay, but there are massive penalties and next to 0% chance anything will happen. The rogue is the normal DM and knows the rules. He's just having fun with it. So the barbarian throws her long spear. Nat 20. We all have a laugh. Okay, you actually get to do something. Ah ha ha. Roll to confirm. Nat 20. All the PCs start cheering and, okay. Well, give it a roll to see if it's an insta-kill? Nat 20. Everyone cheers that a group of level 1s kill a level 20 wizard. My campaign destroyed with one long spear. Whenever any of us get together nowadays, we still have a laugh when we tell new players about the campaign that became a one-shot. In a homebrew game I'm DMing, the players ended up in a holy city dedicated to the gods, Amoantor and Lethlander. Hope I pronounced those correct. The city was the only way through to another city that the party needed to get to, but all travel in that direction has been cut off due to an increase in activity from a local gang of doppelgangers. Fast forward a bit. The party figures out that the leader of the gang has been impersonating the head priestess of the temple of Amoantor. They made their way to the temple along with the actual head priestess, a few guards, and the guard captain. In the ensuing confrontation, the imposter head priestess reveals herself to be a green hag and unleashes a chimera onto the party. Now, the fight against the chimera was epic in every sense of the word, but the same can't be said about the hag. Thanks to some lucky rolls on the player's part and some very unlucky rolls on my part, the hag got utterly demolished in the first turn of combat before she even had a chance to attempt her intended getaway. Thankfully, my players didn't care all that much and had a blast, and by extension, I had a blast. But I've taken this as a learning experience to make potential villains like this a bit beefier to avoid history repeating itself. My favorite example is from a character I play who is a bounty and big game hunter by trade. Think Flack from Borderlands. He is often stoic and serious when on the hunt for his prey, but gets good laughs for taking things the party says too literally. The straight man to contrast the silly characters. Our party was investigating rumors of bandits on a particular trade route. We disguised ourselves as simple but wealthy travelers by wearing high-quality but non-magical robes and jewelry over our armor. We came to a large stone river bridge where a bandit clad in shiny enchanted full plate stood, waiting for us. He drew his sword and commanded that we surrender or be shot down where we stood. This bandit appeared to be alone, but after some perception checks, we saw other bandits with loaded crossbows and magical staves hiding in bushes across the river. More armed bandits were waiting with weapons drawn under the bridge to engage us in melee. Our party leader tried negotiating, but the bandits believed that we were in no position to do any bargaining. Roll initiative. My character went first. He drew his gun, dropped to a kneeling firing position, and shot a decapitating natural 20 through the skull of the bandit leader. My character stared at the staggering corpse as it fell stiff to the ground and said, "We are not your prey." The GM did some morale checks, and most of the bandits immediately turned and bolted into the forest. We were over-leveled for this particular encounter, and whomever didn't flee was cut down swiftly by the rest of the party. One of the shortest but most badass combat rounds I've ever had. TLDR, my character changed the landscape trying to kill an A-rank enemy. It was in my friend's homebrew world. We were on a stealth mission to eliminate an enemy camp. Things went well at first. My ranger friend covered me from the shadows with his arrows while I snuck around and killed the enemy as quietly as possible. You might be asking how a barbarian was able to sneak his way through on foot and assassinate multiple bandits without detection. The answer is a wonderful homebrew stealth item my friend wanted to playtest. Eventually, we get caught and all hell breaks loose. We fought through a horde, saved only thanks to my buddy's continuous good stealth checks and a wonderful item that I acquired through the deck of many things. The item was a godly warhammer that shook the earth itself every time it made contact and gave a passive strength boost even if it was just strapped to his back. Even just setting it down gently would shake the immediate area. My character already had an idea of the damage it could deal from previous experience, but he never went all out with it. After what seemed like hours, we forced the horde to retreat, which only revealed who my friend called the bounty hunter. As soon as we say BH, he threw a chain weapon at us with such velocity that it created a small crater upon impact. His strength clearly surpassing anything my character could hope to challenge, he had an idea. He led the BH into a small cave they had discovered earlier, and as soon as BH stepped into the cave, my character used the hammer to collapse the cave's entrance and turning the now blocked cave entrance into a makeshift cannon. He slammed the godly warhammer into the stone with all his might. This had been the first time he drew out the full extent of the warhammer's power. As soon as the dust cleared, the once hilly area was now a flat plain with no BH in sight. As we were walking back, we saw the bloody remains of what the DM hinted at as BH. We found BH's chain weapon and discovered the weight was immense. My character could barely lift it, even with the strength bonus from the godly warhammer. And that's how I ruined an enemy encounter my DM was excited for. Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. If you're new here, slap that subscribe button, ring the bell. New or old, leave a like too. Make sure to follow MrRipper on Twitch and Twitter, and to join our subreddit r/MrRipper, where you can leave a story for us to read here or live on stream. Using a handy dandy help action, you can come subscribe to me on YouTube too, Brian Von VA, where I make voice acting vids, stream games, and the occasional D&D related video too. With that said, I truly hope January has been treating you kindly. This year, in my opinion, is the year of healing and moving forward, so may the pain of the past finally be ebbing away for each and every one of you, no matter who and what you are. Make sure to tell me how you've been doing in the comments below, and of course be sure to stop by on my place too if you want a little bit more positivity on my YouTube over there. But that being said, all the love and thank you for always supporting us here at MrRipper. We love reading stories for each and every one of you, and we're glad to entertain you during these hard times. With that said, we will see you next time. Be safe and bye for now.